we want to honor you and bring you glory. And I believe that as we bring you our offerings, our tithes, our time and our talents, that you will multiply them, bless them, and be glorified in and through them. And that we will change the atmosphere because of your presence. So we submit that to you, Lord, and we pray that you transform us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, glad you're here. Welcome to the River Church. This is just an amazing morning to be in this house. And we have just some special guests with us today. My family is in town. Jill's sister and brother-in-law. Just want to welcome them. Glad, totally makes me nervous that they're here. So I'm just going to bear with me as I fumble through today's message. They go to like Hillsong in New York, so it's awesome. I'm a little jealous. Anyway, guys, I am thrilled that you're here in this house today because we are in the middle of a series that we are just talking about some really important things that we are dealing with just as individuals, and we're talking about basically taking the road less traveled. Is kind of the overall title of the series that we're in. And last week, Nick talked about taking that high road of love that fights off fear. And just an amazing message. I want to just invite you, if you didn't hear it, to go onto the app and you can either watch the video, or you can listen to it on the app. And it was a great message, just talking about battling that fear with just an overall heart of love and recognizing that love does cast out all fear. And next week, Andy is going to be sharing with us, and I'm really excited about what he has got to share from just having that attitude of gratitude versus, you want to tell him real quick? Entitlement. Battling entitlement. So there's going to be some other stuff happening with that I'm really excited about. Yeah, they're like, ooh, great. Entitlement? First world problems. No, it's going to be amazing. I want you guys to count how many times I say excited and amazing in the beginning of this message today, because I've already gone to, I think, about 7. So we're breaking a record today. But this morning, I get the opportunity to share something that's been on my heart, and that is something that I deal with on a regular basis. I fight against it, I struggle against it, I deal with it, and I try to overcome it on a regular basis. And really, with this whole series, we are talking about overcoming something. Be it that we're overcoming entitlement, or we're overcoming fear. Today, we're going to talk about overcoming offenses. And this is something that I think we all can deal with. We all have issues with being offended. In fact, I just want to ask right now, how many of you know somebody that's easily offended in this place? Yeah? Some of you guys are like, I'm not putting my hand up, because the person that I know is going to be offended by the fact that I'm offended, that I'm raising my hand, that I'm offended by them. So I'm not going to put my hand up. Well, it's easy. I think it's easy for people to be offended. And I, for one, have been offended far too many times, so I get it, I understand it. Let me just tell you that if you don't know some of the messages and the talks and the frustrating moments that I have had with individuals, then just get on board with today. I am a human being, and I will tell you that I get offended pretty easily. In fact, I'll be driving down the road. Saturday, I'm driving down the road, and taking Kale to work. And we live in Durango West too, and you can pick up some good speed coming down that road, right, that highway. And I'm going 65, and I'm not breaking the law much, and I'm just going down there a little bit. And no joke, right where there's a passing lane when you're going down, so you can go around somebody. Right at the end of the passing lane, where it goes to a double yellow, where the corner is, there's this car that's going 50 miles an hour. And I'm like, oh! And I'm just like, pull over! And I say that, and I'm like, come on, and Kale's in the car with me, and I'm totally getting offended by this car that's driving 50 miles an hour down the highway that just passed the speed limit sign that said 65. And I'm just going, ah. It's a frustrating moment for me. And the thing is that later I find out that Cale has been having dreams where he's driving because he's just gotten his permit and all this stuff. And he's telling me that he's having dreams where he is now yelling at drivers in their moronic ways of going slow. And I'm going, be an influencer, Dad, be an influencer. And don't be offended by these people that are going slow down the highway. It happens, right? Or maybe it's when you are holding the door for somebody. This is one that also gets me. When I'm holding the door and I'm opening it for somebody else, and they just walk in, they don't acknowledge. I'm like, hello. Thank you for coming today to the store that I'm also going into. And they're just like, whatever. Or I'll do that little finger thing to that wave deal, to the flag people on college, and they just look the other way. They're not waving back. I love it when they wave back or they go, that type of a thing. Nope. This guy, I'm waving at him. I'm like doing this to him. And he's holding the flag and he just says this. Beep, just turns the other direction, doesn't even acknowledge me. I'm going, what's the deal? And I get so offended. Here's one that maybe offends you, okay? You'll be talking to somebody and they will pull out their phone and they will start texting somebody else when you're talking to them, and they're like, totally, I got you. Wait, what was that? Tech frustrations. You can get offended when somebody's not listening to you, or maybe you can get offended when your post on Instagram isn't being liked, and the person that is really getting a lot of the likes that you're not getting, really, that person, and you're thinking, well, what is it that people are liking about them because their post was really dumb, and mine was a sunset, and that's an amazing thing, and nobody is liking my sunset where everybody else is liking this picture of a rock. What's the deal about that, And the whole Instagram thing, and you start looking at it, and then somebody unfollows you. That is grounds for offense right there. Somebody just secretly just starts to hide your post, or you find out about that. And there's so many things that we can do in our lives that we can find that we get offended by. How about this one? One last one. You text somebody, and I'm notorious for this, so forgive me, okay? But somebody will get a text from me, or I'll be texting somebody, and then that little bubble thing comes up. On your smartphones, you see a little bubble thing that says that the person is texting you back, and then it disappears, and no text. You're like, what's going on? I wanted a response to your text, and I didn't even get a thumbs up. I just asked a yes or no question. It wasn't like this, I wanted this long answer, but nothing. I do this to people. I'm so sorry if you don't get texts from me. But I know that this is such a frustrating thing, and I'm sure that some of you right now are elbowing your spouse. It's like, see? It's annoying. Don't get offended. Don't get offended by that. Well, because Thanksgiving is coming around and Christmas is coming around, there are often times that as families we have offenses towards each other in different people in our families, different relatives. Things through hurts and frustrations, and I don't want to just make this about light situations. I understand and I want to acknowledge today that there are serious offenses that people carry, be it that somebody's been betrayed or lied to, families are divided, friendships are broken, and so there's a lot that can take place, and I don't want to minimize those kinds of things too. And people carry around some pretty heavy stuff. And as they carry around these offenses, it can really divide or separate relationship within the families, within friends. And seriously, that's what offense is really about. That's why today I really wanted to just talk about overcoming offenses. Now, I might say offense a lot or offense. Just bear with me on that because, it is football season, so I'm really thinking a lot about that. But anyway, I just want to share a statement with you guys this morning, and I want you to remember this. If you don't remember anything else about this morning, I want you to remember this statement, okay? Your life is too short, and your calling is too great to live offended. All right? Let's just, instead of saying your on that, let's all say it together as my, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. My life is too short and my calling is too great to live offended. It is. It is. Now, what is life? Life, you guys know, life is a mist. It's a vapor. It's a scratch on the line of eternity. Life is something that happens so short. And in fact, the more mature, older people in the room will tell you that as life goes on, it gets faster. Faster and faster and faster. I will tell you that I watch my 15-year-old son, and I'm going, I've been a dad for 15 years. When did that happen? 15 years ago. But the thing is that it happened so fast, and I am so amazed at how quickly life has gone by, and we're talking about the fact that, 2 more years and he's gone. And he's moved on. And it's so crazy how quickly life goes by. And our life is too short. And our callings are too great to be offended. The calling that I have on my life is too great to hold on to those offenses. The calling on your life is too great to hold on to those offenses. We are called, you guys, to preach the good news. We are called to be the light in the world, to represent Christ in that way. We are called to be the salt of the earth. We are called to love one another, to obliterate that fear. Our calling is too great to hold on to those offenses. And seriously, small people hold on to big grudges, and it's time that we start to learn to let them go. Kind of the umbrella verse that I want us to remember today is Proverbs 19:11. It says, a person's wisdom yields patience. It is one's glory to overlook an offense. It's to one's glory to overlook an offense. And I really wanted to just make this very, very obvious to you this morning. Okay? And so you're probably wondering what this is right here. This is an accordion wall. So it expands, which is really cool when you need to make a quick fence. I love this thing. So Proverbs is talking about the fact that we need to overlook offenses. Offenses keep us away from people. They block us. You see, the thing about offenses, having these things, it prevents us to have relationship. I can't see what you're doing. You could be making faces at me. I'm making faces at you, but it keeps us apart. And the thing is that with Jesus is all about relationship. He's wanting us to be close to each other. He's wanting us to know one another. And so the thing is that when we are having this offense with each other, we're building assumptions towards the other person, and we don't really understand what the other person is saying or acting, or how they're responding to what I'm saying. And when I hold on to these offenses, even if I hold on to an offense by one person, you see, the thing is that when I'm holding on to these offenses, it goes wherever I go. It blocks me from all other relationships. Woo, figure that out. And I'm no longer in a safe place, or I'm no longer in a situation where I'm alone. And it sounds weird in this thing. When you carry an offense, you are alone. And you might think that you're justified by holding on to that offense, but seriously, the truth is, we need to overlook it. We need to rise above it. Hey! But I'll tell you this. You know what? Seriously, when it talks about this verse, and I'm gonna, can you put that verse back up? Because I can't read it on my notes. But I can read it off the Sky Bible. A person's wisdom yields patience, and it is to one's glory to overlook an offense. That word overlook, it actually comes from 2 Hebrew words. And those 2 Hebrew words, I'm not going to tell you what they are, but they do talk about passing over the offense. So frankly, my little stool isn't enough for what I want to illustrate today, okay? The thing is that we honestly need to understand that with the love of God in our lives, with the power that we have because of Jesus, we can come to this place to not just stand over our offense, but we can totally rise above it. We don't just look over the fence. We overcome the offense because of what God has done in our lives. Now, this is really high, and it's really scary. So I'm going to go back down. But do you guys get the point today? That when we hold these offenses, when we hold these grudges, when we are seriously hiding behind the offense that we are carrying from somebody else, we are losing relationship with one another. It's an evil but clever ploy of the enemy to make sure that we hold on to our offenses. And isn't it interesting that in our culture today, we are seeing more and more people getting offended by little itty-bitty things, which is continuing to separate each other. All right. Just going to leave that there for now. I'm out of shape. Need to get into CrossFit or something. All right. I want to share with you just a quote from a guy by the name of Rene Descartes. It says, "Whenever anyone has offended me, I try to raise my soul so high that the offense cannot reach it." May it be that today you can start to look and respond to the offenses of life in this way, that you literally pass over the offense. Life is too short, and our callings are too great to hold on to these offenses in our life. This morning I want to talk about, with God's help, some things that we can get over this morning. You guys with me on this so far? Yeah. Follow me? Awesome. So this morning, with God's help, we need to get over being easily offended. With God's help, I want to get over being offended, easily offended. And in Ephesians 4:2 says this, "Always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love." Now, I want to look at this really quick, and I want us to understand something in this verse. At the beginning of it says, "Always be humble and gentle." When you are being humble and gentle, are you being selfish? But when you have an offense in your life on these easily offended things, can you agree with me that there is something that is making it about you? It's a selfish thing, right? When you're being offended, it's I am offended. You are messing with me and mine. You're making my life inconvenient. Or you're making me feel stupid. Or you're doing something to me. And so you're carrying that offense. But when we're humble and we're gentle and we're patient, we're making allowance for each other's faults because we love those other people. We're beginning to see something take place in the other person's life that we can begin to look past. We can begin to pass over the offense. You see, oftentimes when we are dealing with life and being offended by things, we're doing what? We're judging people by their actions. But when it comes back to us, we're hoping that people are judging us by our intentions. And that's a struggle because for many of us, we're going, well, don't you understand what I'm trying to do? Don't you understand that what I'm saying is that I really do love you. I'm really thinking about it. It's not like anybody gets into a fight or tries to do something that with the sole purpose and intention, if we're loving each other or if we have a relationship with each other, it's not like we're actually trying to hurt the other person on purpose. Jill and I will have strong conversations with each other. And, in relationship, there is a refining that goes on, right? Come on, it happens. It's good. It's healthy. Conversations, when you get to yelling, not so healthy. But strong conversations are good. And the thing is, though, is that when we begin to think that the other person is out to get us, or the other person is doing it because they want to hurt us, we're not in relationship with one another. We're literally carrying the offenses of life and making strong assumptions about the other person, which then continues to break relationship. But when I can come with an understanding that, you know what? The other person has a story for why they're feeling the way that they're feeling that day. It changes everything. You know, for me, there's been a few times that I've talked about my offense of bicyclists going through stop signs. Ray Godfrey. I'm just kidding. It's like, what? Well, I just had to wake you up, so, you know, it's all good. No, the thing is that I have shared about seeing bicyclists go through stop signs. And so just a few years back, I was driving at night after a council meeting from church, and I'm down on 3rd Avenue, and it's dark, it's late, no one's around, and I'm driving down the road, and I slow down at the stop sign, look both ways. I think I totally paused, but apparently I didn't, because when I drove through where I thought nobody was, I got pulled over for going through the stop sign. See, totally human. I will admit it. And the thing is that I realized at that moment, and I got a ticket. The guy pulled me over, and he's like, "You didn't stop." But I'm thinking to myself, no one was around. It was totally safe. I don't know what was going on here. And I'm starting to think to myself, maybe that's why bicyclists go through the stop signs. It began to make sense to me on a very obscure level why bicyclists go through stop signs. The thing is that we don't know the story. We don't know what's going on in the other person, yet we make assumptions that dictate to our offense when we're thinking in those ways. The person might be having a bad day. They might be distracted. You know, the thing about road rage is that you don't know when that person comes and starts to honk at you or give you, you know, some very strong sign language, that they might have found out that morning that they went to the doctor and they found out that they have cancer, or that a loved one has cancer, or that maybe that they're getting fired from their job, or they didn't get the raise that they were hoping for. Maybe there was a circumstance where they and their spouse got into a huge fight. And so their adrenaline's pumping, and they're already hurting, and so they needed somebody to take it out on, and you just happen to be the one to cut them off. We don't know. We don't know what the story is. We don't know why somebody isn't acknowledging us when we wave at them. Maybe it's not that they don't want to talk to me or wave because they're the flagger. It may be that their hand is so tired waving at every other person that they're just like, I just need a break. We don't know what we don't know. And so we, in our assumptions, can really hurt another person if we respond out of that offense. Hear this today. With all love, it's not about you. It's not about you. And when we can begin to think that somebody else has a story behind their hurt or behind their response to one of your actions, it makes life easier to respond to. It makes relationship easier to hold on to. Let me just tell you a couple of tools that I have in my toolbox when I start to think about this stuff. Because remember, it's always to be humble and gentle, be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love, right? So when we were doing this, some tools that help me to walk through some of these offenses that I might carry on by somebody, is that I'm always thinking to myself, I wonder what's going on in their life. Hurt people. So what's their story? If you ask that question, what's their story? Ask why. Why are they so mean to me right now? Why are they doing this? There's something. There's a story behind it. Nobody just does it, I feel. Nobody is that evil that they are looking to destroy you. Something has happened in their life, in their past, that they are responding out of their hurt towards you. Is it right? No, it's not right. It's not. But how are you responding? Are you holding on to it? Or are you going over it this morning? Life is too short. Our callings are too great to live offended. The thing is that many times these people that we're offended at or we're offended towards, they may have done something one time to hurt you, and you're holding on to that. You're holding on to that offense, and they don't even realize it. So the question that I have for you in this is that how much time are you wasting building a case against someone who's not even thinking about you? How much time are you focused on being hurt and wounded and frustrated and offended towards somebody else? And it's happening because you are thinking about it's all about you, when in reality, the hurt, they've moved on from it because they didn't realize that they had hurt you. Those people that don't acknowledge me for holding the door for them, it's not like they care. They've forgotten. So what do I need to do? I need to let it go. I need to move on. I need to move on. And it's interesting, too, that when we are in relationship with each other, those offenses that we may hold on to initially begin to break apart. When we are spending time together, those things will break apart. Because I know that at times with those individuals that you hold the door for, you see them one time and the situation can go by and you lose it. But the thing is that often we will have offenses against other people that we know very close to us, that are very dear to us in our lives. And we carry on with these offenses. But I want to just share with you that when we have relationship, those things begin to move apart. The relationships that we have can get better. I just want to share with you one that I have with a pastor friend of mine. That the first time we met, he sat down with me and began to just share with me all of his thoughts about where our church was and what he was thinking about our church and how he just was kind of talking down to me about everything that was going on at the River Church and what was happening here. And I'm just sitting here going, who are you? You've been here for how long? And you're talking to me like I'm this noob dude that, like, what's up? What's up? And I'm not saying that out loud, but it's going into my head, you know? And it was, if I would have held on to that, it could have really been a situation where I would have just, me and this other pastor would have been so alienated with each other. Because I could have carried that offense and been like, stay away from me. I don't want to have anything to do with you. You think I'm this kind of guy, you don't even know me. And the first time we meet, you're like trashing me, you're trashing my church. What the dickens are you doing? Well, the cool thing is that I pushed through that. I recognized that he was basing his responses to me on assumptions that he had made about who I was. And he had a story in his mind of the kind of person that I was. And when we started to have that conversation and he realized what was going on, he actually started to back off on that stuff. And we continued to meet. We continued to have conversations with each other. And I'll tell you that today, this other pastor and myself are linked arm in arm for the battle for this town because we want to see God's kingdom come to Durango, and we are going to do it together. We have a great relationship, and it's because we were both willing to push through offense to build relationship. Are you ready to do that today? Are you ready to push through the offense to build a relationship? Because if I would have held on to that, my life is too short, my calling is too great to deal with an offense with another pastor in this town. There aren't a whole lot of us in this community, and we need to join together rather than fight one another. All right? God's calling is too great for us to do that. God's calling is too great in your lives for you to hold on to those offenses. The second thing, and this is where I know that we've been having some fun and talking about some kind of light areas, but I know that there are some serious offenses in people's lives. And with God's help, and the second thing is with God's help, I'm getting over the big offenses. With God's help, I'm getting over the big offenses. And I want to just acknowledge the fact that there are some significant hurts, and those significant hurts aren't easy to be broken. You might have been betrayed by a loved one, or a boss, or lied to over and over and over. You might have been abused physically, emotionally, sexually, and you're like, how can I justify this kind of thing? You're talking about getting over this stuff. When I am so angry and so frustrated and so, I I want to hurt this person. I'm so offended because of what they've done to me. Hear me. I understand. I understand that there are massive, massive offenses. And for those things, I want to encourage you with some thoughts on this, and they go along with what I had talked about before. In the fact that when we are dealing with this stuff, it is tearing us apart. When we are the ones that have been offended, it is tearing us apart. More, I think, at times than the person that has done the offending thing to you. And because of that, I want to encourage you in one of these two things. I want to encourage you to release rather than rehearse today. When we rehearse things, we're going over it and 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 over it. We continue to dwell on it. We continue to think about it. We continue to move in that hurt and that pain and that offense. We continue to just rehearse it and rehearse it and rehearse it. And we think about the time that we can get even. But when we release, think about the freedom that will have on your life. I don't know what the statistics are, but when we talk about forgiveness and we talk about forgiving others, there is definitely something, even in the physical of your body and in your well-being, that when you can forgive people for the hurts that they have done to you, there is life, there is longevity in your own life that you can receive by forgiving others. In Colossians 3:13, it says, "Make allowance for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others." How can I do this? How can I forgive? How can I come to an individual who has hurt me so deeply and release it? How can I give that over? Well, at the beginning of this point, I said, with God's help. I don't think there's any other way that you can. And frankly, with some of this stuff, you might even need to go into walking and talking it through with some professional counseling to even start to work through some of those offenses and some of those situations that you're dealing with. But remember this, that the Lord forgave you first. The Lord forgave you. And here's one, let me just tell you, Jesus is one who has and understands betrayal because he has been betrayed. He understands rejection. He understands what it's like to be lied to. He understands. And yet he is one who went on the cross for you and says, I love you so much, I'm going to die for you. We can forgive because he forgave us. And see, this is really what the opposite of offense is forgiveness. When we hold on to offenses, we're not forgiving people. And because we have been forgiven, folks, we need to forgive. We need to release. We need to pass over the offenses. I'm getting this, I hope this is getting ingrained in your mind today, this little action. Because you might have to do it to yourself. You might have to look in the mirror and go, dude, come on. I can't do this today. Your wife might be going, what are you doing? You're like, I'm getting over it. I'm dealing with it this morning. But we have been forgiven, and so we need to forgive. I know that it's hard, and I know that it can hurt. But let me encourage you today to start the process of getting above your offenses. Let me remind you of Descartes saying, whenever anyone has offended me, I try to raise my soul so high that the offense cannot reach it. Jesus loves us so much that he sent his son to die on a cross for us. And having every right, opportunity, choice to hold it against us, he could have. But he chose to take all of it and push it completely aside, to let it go, so that there wasn't even a chance to hold it. Danny, if you want to come out and start playing some music today. I want to close with a story from the Old Testament to share this with you. You guys know the story of a guy named Joseph. Joseph was as a kid, had some amazing dreams, was the favored son of his dad. And his brothers hated him for it. Because the dreams that he shared they came across somewhat arrogant. And so they despised him for being dad's favorite. So they chose to throw him in a pit. Some of them wanted to kill him at that point. But they decided, you know what, let's not kill him. Let's just sell him into slavery. Oh, that's better. And so they sold him into slavery, where he goes into Egypt and he becomes the chief servant of Pharaoh's guard. But then he's betrayed. He's betrayed by the guy's wife, who lies about him and says that he was trying to rape this woman, which wasn't true. He was trying to flee, but because this woman wanted to save face, she lied about him. So Joseph gets thrown in jail. For a number of years, Joseph sits in an Egyptian jail, underground, out of sun, dealing with life, feeling forgotten. And then is asked to interpret some dreams of Pharaoh. Through this interpretation, through these things, Joseph becomes the second in charge underneath Pharaoh. He is great among the Egyptians. This Hebrew man is now great in Egypt. And there's a famine in the land, and Joseph's brothers come into town. Joseph sees them, he recognizes them, but they don't recognize him. At this moment, he could have been so offended that he goes, now's my chance to get even. Now's my chance to get back and to throw them into a pit and to sell them into slavery and to allow them to go to jail for a number of years. Let's see how they like it. But what does Joseph do? If you know the story, that's not how it ends. It ends so beautifully and so amazing because Joseph rose above the offense. He looks at his brothers and he goes, what you meant for evil, God used it for good. The offense that you might have gotten towards you, what somebody meant for evil, will you be in a place to be able to turn it around for good? Will you use what's been holding you back to make you stronger? If that offense has held you back, will you take it upon yourself to begin to remove that, release it, and allow it to make you stronger? If there's things that hurt you in the past, will you begin to look at those and say, through these circumstances, they changed me to be more like Christ. I have grown because of this situation. I'm no longer going to allow it to define me, but I'm going to allow God to work through it. What weighed you down for years no longer can hold you. Because you're going over. You're going over. Let's be over it today. Let's let it go. Let's forgive those who have hurt us because we don't know their story. We only know our own. But when we begin to discover the story that we have of other people and how they've hurt us, and we start to hear that story, doesn't it bring about a sense of understanding, a sense of compassion? I'll tell you, in my life, with some of the hurt that I have gotten over the years, when I started to see the story and allow the Lord, sometimes the Lord had to speak the story to me because the person wasn't going to tell me. But when I started to sense that story from the Lord, man, it brought such a different view of that person into my life, a different perspective. And my life and my heart was changed towards that other person. And it was easier for me to let go of the offense. Hear this, forgiving doesn't excuse what they did. Forgiving isn't just kind of passing it off, because it takes time to forgive, and I understand that. It may take years, it may take decades to forgive the hurt from some of these things that people have offended you and hurt you with. But it can be done, and it is worth it, because life is too short, and your calling is too big to live within these offenses. Would you stand with me? Let's close out this time with a little bit more prayer. And I want to just encourage you this morning, if you are feeling like the things that you're dealing with, the offenses that you have in your life, if you're needing somebody else to come alongside you and to pray with you, we're going to have some people over here in this corner that are willing to pray with you today, that want to help walk it through with you, because seriously, we have a relationship with one another so that we can walk through stuff together. Don't feel like you have to go through this stuff alone. The offense is what keeps you isolated. When you push that offense aside and you recognize that there's a full room of people that are willing to walk it through with you, let me just tell you how comforting that is to know. Get prayer today if you need it. If you want to discover the saving grace, the love that Jesus has for you, that will help free you and help you to understand what forgiveness is all about, I want to encourage you to go over and we will pray with you to start that relationship with Christ today. It's worth it. His love is so great. His forgiveness is all-encompassing. He forgave you. Man, that helps us to forgive, doesn't it? When we start to think about what Jesus walked through. Let me pray. Lord, I thank you for this morning, and I thank you for this group of people that are here today. It is no accident that we are here in this house to hear this message, all of us today. No accident. Lord, would you just move in our hearts? Would you begin the process of freeing us of the offenses that we have? Help us, Lord, to forgive those that have hurt us. Yeah, our lives are too short, God, to hold on to this for too long. It's wrecking us inside, physically, emotionally. Help us to discover your freedom in forgiveness. We love you, Lord. And we just give you this. We lay our offenses at your feet. Take them. In your name. Amen.